Chapter 1. Stolen Notes, Shattered Heart. The roar of the crowd was still echoing through the backstage corridors when Elena shoved the door open, her hands trembling. Cole had just walked off stage, basking in the glow of another victory, another award, another song that wasn't his. Her song. "Cole!" she snapped, her voice sharp with fury. "How many more times do you plan to stand out there and sing words that came from me?" He turned slowly, his practiced smile still plastered on his face, as if the performance hadn't ended. His eyes glimmered with the same charm that once made her trust him, but now, she saw it for what it was. A mask. "Elena," he said softly, almost mocking, "you really shouldn't be here. Tonight is about celebration, not bitterness." Her heart pounded, but she refused to back down. "Celebration? You took my music, my lyrics, every piece of me I poured into those songs, and you let the world believe they were yours. That applause out there? It was meant for me." Cole's smile faltered, the mask slipping. He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a hiss. "Careful. Without proof, you're nothing but a jealous ex. You'll sound like a bitter woman who can't accept someone else's talent." Her throat tightened. He knew exactly where to strike her silence. Her lack of evidence, the truth buried in contracts she never signed because she trusted him. Trust had been her downfall. Elena wanted to scream, to tear down every glittering banner that bore his name, but instead she stood frozen. The man she once loved was now her thief, and he was untouchable. Before she could speak again, another voice broke the tension. Smooth, measured, edged with something darker. "Interesting. The king of pop, stealing his crown jewels from someone else." Elena spun around to see Adrian leaning casually against the wall, his expression unreadable. He had been watching, maybe listening. A notorious producer with a reputation for breaking careers as easily as he built them. Cole's jaw tightened. "Stay out of this, Adrian. This isn't your fight." Adrian's gaze slid to Elena, sharp and calculating. "Maybe not, but I've been in this industry long enough to know when a story doesn't add up. And tonight, yours has cracks all over it." Elena's chest tightened. She didn't want Adrian's pity or his games, but something in his eyes made her pause. He wasn't mocking. He was studying her, as if weighing her worth. Cole scoffed, brushing past both of them. "You two deserve each other. One's a washed-up producer, the other a desperate songwriter. Neither of you will ever touch what I've built." The words stung, but it was the smugness in his stride that made Elena's blood boil. She had once built him up, believed in him, loved him. Now he strutted away on the bones of her sacrifice. When the door slammed shut, silence fell. Adrian pushed himself off the wall and approached her. "He's right about one thing: you don't have proof. But I've seen enough in this business to know when someone's hiding behind lies." She glared at him. "And what? You'll swoop in and save me? Use me as your next project? I know your reputation, Adrian. You don't do favors, you make deals." His lips curved slightly, not quite a smile. "You're not wrong, but deals can go both ways. You want the world to hear your voice? I can give you the stage, but you'll have to decide if revenge is worth the risk." Her pulse quickened. She didn't trust him, not for a second, but his words pierced through the fog of rage and despair. A stage, a chance, a way to take back what was stolen. Still, her pride flared. "I don't need your charity." Adrian leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Charity? No, opportunity. And if you don't take it, he wins. Again." The words lodged in her chest. Cole's laughter, his arrogance, his theft, it all surged inside her until she could barely breathe. She hated that Adrian was right. She hated that she even had to consider his offer. But the fire in her refused to die. "What exactly are you offering?" she asked, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "A showcase," he said. 3 weeks from now, the industry's biggest players will be there. If you want your voice heard, that's your chance." Her mind raced. 3 weeks. A showcase that could either ruin her completely or give her everything back. "I'll think about it," she muttered, turning away. As she walked down the empty corridor, her phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced at the screen and froze. A headline blazed across every news site, plastered with her name. "Obsessed ex claims credit for Cole's music insider, says she's spiraling." Her stomach dropped. Photos of her storming backstage, twisted into a story of jealousy and obsession. Cole's handiwork. Maya's spin. The walls seemed to close in. He hadn't just stolen her songs. He was stealing her dignity, her sanity, her future. With one story, he had turned her into a villain. Her breath came in sharp bursts as she scrolled each article worse than the last. Comment sections tore her apart, calling her bitter, crazy, desperate. Her name, once whispered with admiration in small songwriting circles, was now poison. Her grip tightened around the phone until her knuckles ached. He wasn't going to stop. He would bury her until no one remembered she existed. Behind her, Adrian's voice echoed faintly down the hall. Looks like the clock just started ticking. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her entire world was collapsing in real time, and yet one truth rang louder than all the noise. If she didn't fight back, she would vanish beneath his spotlight forever. And Elena refused to disappear. But as the night closed in around her, she realized the first battle had already been lost. Cole had drawn blood, and the war for her name, her songs, her soul had only just begun. Chapter 2. A Dangerous Alliance. Elena's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Every notification was another knife to the chest, articles twisting her into a villain, comments calling her unhinged, even old friends falling silent instead of defending her. By morning, her reputation had already been dragged through the mud, and Cole was shining brighter than ever. She sat in Adrian's studio, pale from exhaustion, her voice ragged. He studied her like a chess piece he was deciding whether to move. "You're letting him control the story," he said coolly. "Every minute you stay quiet, he wins." Elena's fists clenched. "What am I supposed to do? He has everything, the press, the connections, even my lyrics. If I speak, no one believes me. If I stay silent, I vanish." Adrian leaned forward, eyes locked on hers. "Then stop playing defense, fight back!" She laughed bitterly. "Easy for you to say. You've never had everything stolen by someone you loved." His gaze darkened. "Don't be so sure." The weight in his voice made her pause, but he gave her no further explanation. Instead, he pushed a folder across the table. Inside were contracts, schedules, names of industry insiders. "This is your way back," he said. "I can get you on stage at the Rising Stars Showcase. It's the biggest event before the summer tour season. If you blow them away, no one will care about Cole's lies." Her throat tightened. "And if I fail, then you're done," Adrian said flatly. "He erases you completely. No second chances." Silence stretched between them, thick with tension. For a moment she wondered if Adrian was just another predator circling her weakness. But something in his eyes, something sharp, something personal told her he wasn't doing this only for himself. Finally, she whispered, "Fine, I'll do it." Adrian's lips curved, not into a smile, but into something sharper. "Good, then we start today." The days blurred into a brutal routine. Adrian pushed her harder than she thought possible, rewriting arrangements, drilling performances, tearing apart every flaw in her delivery. Their clashes were constant. He demanded perfection, and she fought back with raw emotion. "You can't just bleed on stage," he snapped one night. "You need control, precision, timing. Audiences don't want chaos. They want brilliance." "And what do you know about bleeding?" she shot back. "I wrote those songs from my soul, not a calculator." Adrian stepped closer, his voice low and edged. "And that's why he stole them. Because you hand your soul away too easily." The words struck her harder than she expected. She opened her mouth to retort, but no sound came. Instead, she turned back to the piano, her fingers trembling as she pressed the keys. Despite the arguments, something shifted. Between the anger and the fire, a strange current of respect began to spark. Adrian wasn't like Cole. He didn't flatter her, didn't charm her. He challenged her, forced her to rise higher than her pain. And though she hated to admit it, she felt alive under his relentless pressure. But outside the studio, the storm only grew darker. Maya had planted new stories, whispering that Elena was obsessed with Cole, that she was trying to sabotage his career. Headlines painted her as unstable, dangerous, a woman scorned. Venues began canceling her bookings, doors closing before she could knock. One evening, Adrian tossed his phone on the table. The screen lit up with yet another article tearing her apart. "They're tightening the noose," he muttered. Cole's making sure you have nowhere left to stand. Elena's chest burned with rage. He's terrified. That's why he's doing this. He knows if I get one chance, just one, I'll ruin him. Adrian's eyes lingered on her, intense and unreadable. Then give me everything you've got. No hesitation, no fear. If you want revenge, it has to be louder than his lies. Her breath caught at the way he said it, like he wasn't just her producer, but something more. For the first time since Cole's betrayal, she felt a flicker of hope. And maybe something else. But that fragile spark was crushed the very next day. Adrian burst into the studio with a grim expression. The Rising Stars venue pulled out. Elena's heart plummeted. What? Why? He tossed a letter onto the table. Officially? Scheduling conflicts. Unofficially? Cole called in favors. You're blacklisted. Her vision blurred with fury. He won't stop until I'm destroyed. Adrian slammed his fist against the wall, startling her. Then we don't stop either. I'll find another way. But Elena was already moving, her rage boiling over. No, I'm not waiting for another chance to be taken away. I'm ending this tonight. She stormed out, ignoring Adrian's protests. Every step fueled by betrayal, every breath carrying the weight of years lost to a thief. By the time she reached Cole's private rehearsal space, her anger was unstoppable. She shoved the door open, startling him as he tuned his guitar. The room reeked of arrogance, the golden boy rehearsing for his next triumph. You think you can erase me? Elena spat. You think you can bury me under lies and headlines? Cole looked up slowly, a smirk playing at his lips. Elena, still clinging to your delusions. Haven't you learned? The world doesn't care who writes the song, they only care who sings it. Her eyes narrowed. Then let's tell them who really did. But Cole only laughed, pulling something from the table beside him. Her breath caught. In his hands were sheets of paper, her handwriting, her heart poured onto every line, her original lyrics. He held them up like a trophy, his smirk widening. You mean these? The only proof you ever had? They belong to me now. Her chest tightened as she stared at the pages that defined her soul, her career, her entire life. He had everything, and he wasn't going to let her go without a fight. Cole raised the lyrics higher, his voice dripping with mockery. Without these, Elena, you're nothing. Chapter 3. Truths in the Spotlight. Cole dangled the papers in front of her like a weapon, his grin sharp and cruel. Her lyrics fluttered in his hand, as if mocking her with every word she had once poured from her soul. Without these, he said smoothly, you're just another voice screaming into the void. But with them, I am untouchable. Elena's blood surged hot. Every fiber of her body screamed to snatch the pages away, to tear them from his smug hands. But before she could move, the door swung open. Adrian stepped inside, his expression carved from steel. He crossed the room in long strides, his eyes never leaving Cole. Funny thing about untouchable men, Adrian said. They usually fall the hardest. Cole stiffened. You again? Don't you have your own sinking career to worry about? Adrian didn't answer. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a sleek recorder. With a flick of his thumb, Cole's own voice filled the room, cold, damning, impossible to deny. Who cares if I stole her songs? She was nothing without me. I made her. I made everything. Elena's breath caught. The sound of Cole's arrogance, so raw and unfiltered, rang like a gunshot in the small room. For the first time, Cole's confidence faltered. His smirk wavered, his hand tightening on the lyrics. You can't use that. It's illegal. Adrian's voice was calm, almost deadly. Illegal or not, once this hits the right ears, your empire crumbles. Relief surged through Elena, sharp and dizzying. Finally, proof. Finally, justice. She turned to Adrian, gratitude burning in her eyes. But before she could speak, another voice sliced through the air. Unless, of course, the world finds out you're the one pulling the strings. Maya stepped out from the shadows, her smile chilling. She held her phone high, the screen glowing with damning images, pictures of Adrian and Elena together in the studio. Late nights, tense arguments, moments that could be twisted into something darker. I've already prepared the story, Maya purred. Adrian, the disgraced producer, exploiting his fragile ex-lover for revenge against Cole. Elena, the desperate songwriter caught in his scheme. It's delicious, really. The media will eat it alive. Elena's stomach dropped. The walls closed in around her. It wasn't enough that Cole had stolen her songs now. Maya was rewriting her life into a scandal she couldn't escape. Cole regained his swagger, emboldened by Maya's intrusion. He waved the lyrics tauntingly. See, Elena? You'll never win. Even when you have the truth, no one will believe you. Because we write the story, not you. Elena's chest heaved with rage. She turned on Adrian, her voice breaking. Is that true? Am I just your pawn in some game against him? Adrian's jaw tightened, his eyes flashing with something close to pain. No. I want you to win because you deserve it. But she's right, the press doesn't care about truth. They only care about the story they can sell. The words tore at her, each syllable a reminder that she was drowning in a war she never wanted. She had trusted Cole and lost everything. Could she trust Adrian now? Or was he just another wolf circling her wounds? Tears burned her eyes, but she forced them back. No more weakness. No more letting others decide her fate. You both want me to play by your rules, she said, her voice trembling but fierce. But I'm done being a pawn. If the world won't believe me in whispers, then I'll shout the truth so loud they can't ignore it. Cole laughed, cruel and mocking. And how do you plan to do that? Storm a stage and beg for scraps of attention? Her eyes locked on his, blazing with defiance. Exactly. The room fell silent. Even Adrian stared at her, stunned by the fire in her voice. Elena stepped closer, her finger pointed at Cole's chest. You built your kingdom on my words, and I'm going to burn it down in front of everyone. Not in a courtroom, not in the tabloids on stage, at your own concert. Maya's smirk faltered. You wouldn't dare. Elena's lips curled into a bitter smile. Watch me. Adrian's hand brushed her arm, steady but urgent. Elena, this isn't strategy. This is suicide. He'll destroy you before you make it to the microphone. She turned to him, her heart aching at the conflict in his eyes. For a moment, she wanted to lean into him, to let him fight for her. But she couldn't. Not anymore. I've already lost everything, she whispered. What else can he take from me? At least this way. The truth comes from me, not from him, not from you. Me. Adrian's jaw tightened, his silence heavy. He didn't try to stop her again. Cole sneered, his voice dripping with venom. Go ahead. Make a fool of yourself. But when the lights go out and the cameras stop rolling, you'll still be nothing. Her pulse thundered in her ears, but she didn't flinch. I'd rather be nothing than live as your shadow. She spun on her heel, every step carrying the weight of her decision. She wasn't waiting for permission, wasn't asking for help. She was taking back her voice with her own hands. That night, as the city pulsed with neon lights and fans lined up outside Cole's sold-out arena, Elena walked among them with her heart hammering against her ribs. She slipped past security with a stolen pass, adrenaline surging as she moved through the corridors that once felt like home. Backstage, the music rumbled through the walls. Cole's voice echoed, soaked in the adoration of thousands. The very songs she had bled to create were now fueling his glory. Her fingers tightened around the hidden microphone she had taken. The weight of it felt like a weapon, like justice waiting to strike. As the final chorus thundered, she stepped into the wings. The crowd roared, the lights blazed, and Cole basked in the center of it all, his kingdom of lies on full display. Elena's breath caught. This was it! The moment she either vanished forever or burned everything down. With a steady step, she walked into the spotlight. The crowd gasped, a wave of confusion rippling through the arena. Cole froze, his eyes wide with shock, the lyrics slipping from his hands. And Elena raised the microphone to her lips. Her voice trembled as she spoke into the silence. I have something to tell you all. The truth you were never meant to hear. Chapter 4. Ashes of Glory. Elena's voice echoed through the arena, trembling yet unyielding. I have something to tell you all. The truth you were never meant to hear. The crowd, moments earlier roaring with devotion for Cole, fell into a stunned silence. All eyes fixed on her, the intruder, the ghost from his past, the woman branded by tabloids as unstable. She stood in the center of his kingdom, microphone in hand, fire in her veins. Cole tried to recover, striding toward her with his usual charisma. Ladies and gentlemen, he laughed tightly. Don't be alarmed. She's just confused. Please, security. But Elena cut him off, her voice slicing through the tension. No, Cole, not this time. You've silenced me long enough. A ripple of unease moved through the crowd. Phones shot into the air, recording every second. The spotlight, once his, now belonged to her. She turned toward the audience, her throat tight. Every song you've ever loved from him, every lyric that touched you, every melody that made you cry came from me. They were mine, and he stole them. Gasps erupted. Murmurs spread like wildfire. The image of perfection Cole had built began to crack before thousands of witnesses. Cole's smile faltered. She's lying! He snapped, the edge in his voice betraying the charm he clung to. She's always been jealous. But Elena raised her hand, silencing him with the very power he had stolen. You want proof? Her eyes burned as she looked to the wings. Adrian stepped forward. For a breathless moment, Elena thought he wouldn't come. But then, he held up the recorder. Cole's voice filled the arena once more, arrogant, damning. Who cares if I stole her songs? She was nothing without me. I made her. I made everything. The audience erupted in chaos. Shouts, boos, shock. The giant screens replayed the recording. Cole's own confession projected larger than life. Cole lunged at Adrian, rage twisting his face. But the damage was done. The perfect image he'd built was collapsing in real time. Elena took a deep breath, her body trembling, and turned back to the crowd. You've heard his truth. Now hear mine. She lifted the microphone, and her voice poured into the arena with a rawness that silenced every jeer, every whisper. She sang the ballad she had written in the darkest days of her love for Cole, a song that had won him his first award, the song that was hers in every word and note. Her voice cracked with pain but soared with defiance. For the first time, her creation was hers again. No stage lights, no polished veneer, just the truth, naked and unstoppable. The audience leaned forward, entranced. Some cried, others shouted in outrage. The tide had turned, and Cole stood frozen, powerless. When the last note faded, the arena erupted not in boos, not in laughter, but in thunderous applause. Applause for her. Elena's knees almost buckled as the sound crashed over her. She had done it. She had ripped the mask from him, reclaimed her voice. For one breathless second, she felt whole again. Adrian's eyes found hers from the side of the stage, pride, and something deeper burning in his gaze. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe in him not as a rival, not as a strategist, but as someone who saw her, who believed in her, when no one else did. But the victory was not pure. As the applause roared, Maya stormed forward with cameras already rolling. Look at this spectacle, she shouted, spinning the narrative even as the walls crumbled. She's hysterical. She's destroying a man's career out of vengeance. Cole, desperate, seized on her words. Yes, this is what I've endured, her obsession, her delusions. Don't let her manipulate you. But the crowd didn't buy it. They had heard the recording. They had seen the cracks. For the first time, Cole's voice was drowned, not by adoration, but by boos. Security swarmed, chaos erupted, and the arena dissolved into mayhem. Adrian reached for Elena, pulling her away from the madness. We have to go now. She shook her head, her eyes wide, tears streaking her face. No, I won't run anymore. They finally heard me. I need to stand in it. His grip tightened. If you stay, they'll eat you alive. You exposed him, yes, but you exposed yourself too. The industry won't forgive this. They'll never let you rise without dragging you back down. The truth struck like a blade. She had won the battle, but not the war. The price of victory was her own future. Her chest ached, her triumph already tainted. She had burned him down, but the flames had licked her too. Adrian's voice softened, almost breaking. Come with me. We'll find another way. Together. For a moment, she wanted to say yes, to run with him, to leave the ashes behind and start over. But as she looked back at the stage, at the roaring crowd, she knew there was no escape. The industry would forever see her as scandal, as vengeance, as the woman who toppled their golden boy. Her tears glistened in the spotlight as she pulled away. No, Adrian. This was my fight, my truth, and it ends here. His hand fell to his side, his expression shattering. He knew she was right. Elena turned once more to the crowd, taking in the thunder, the chaos, the electricity of revenge fulfilled. She had given them her voice, and they would never forget it. But she also knew they would never let her live beyond it. She dropped the microphone. The sound echoed like a final heartbeat. As security dragged Cole away, screaming, Elena walked out of the arena, alone. The noise faded behind her, replaced by the quiet weight of victory that felt like loss. Outside, the night air hit her like a wave. The city glimmered, indifferent, as if mocking her triumph. She had taken back her name, her songs, her truth, but at the cost of everything else. Adrian appeared in the doorway, watching her with unspoken words, his face carved with sorrow. She met his gaze one last time, her chest tightening with what might have been. Then she turned away. The spotlight no longer belonged to her or to Cole. It burned on an empty stage, shining only on the ashes left behind. At the end, Elena's revenge was complete, but her love and her future were sacrificed. She won the truth but lost everything else. To summarize this story, Elena, a gifted songwriter, is betrayed when the man she loved steals her music and builds a career on her talent. Her reputation crushed and her heart shattered. She teams up with a rival producer, navigating intense rivalries, secrets, and forbidden connections. As she fights to reclaim her voice, she orchestrates a bold, public confrontation that exposes the truth, shakes the industry, and forces everyone to see her brilliance. In the end, she reclaims her power and her songs, but the victory comes at a cost, leaving her triumph bittersweet and unforgettable. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe my channel for more dramatic, intense romances. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.